Hi, I'm Doug Rawson, founder and CEO of BaseBuilders. In this video, I want to take a look at client project fit. Yeah, I want to see how well your clients and your projects fit your organization. And by the time we get to the end of it, you're going to have the tools you need to identify your best performing projects. We're going to take a look at 4 performance indicators, or key performance indicators, also known as KPIs. We're going to use net revenue. How much revenue are you getting by your various segments of projects and clients? How is your net multiplier looking for these various segments? How many dollars of profits, and what are the profit percentages of the segments? And finally, what about your net multiplier minus your break even, with your break even being 1 minus your overhead factor? Anytime that calculation is greater than 0, you're making a profit. When it's below 0, you're losing money. So what we want to do is analyze projects by segment. In this table, we're looking at project type. So we have 6 types listed. We just called them A through F, but that could be your churches compared to your schools, or grocery stores, or barber shops. Countless ways that you can segment your projects by the building type or perhaps the occupancy. We have a column called net revenue, so you can see where your revenues come from. See what percentage of your net revenue comes from each of these segments. Then we've got operating profits, percentage of total profit coming from each segment, and finally, what is the net operating profit percentage as a percentage of your net revenue. Let's take a look at 2 of these, row C and row E. Row D and row E. It's right there in front of me and I can't seem to read today. Anyways, we see that with D, you've got $60,000 of revenue, 9% of your revenue comes from that segment. It's generating operating profits of $18,000, or 15% of the total firm profits, at least for these segments that we're looking at, and it's running at a 30% profit percentage. That's really good. Where E is running much lower and only hitting an 8% operating profit. Doing an analysis like this helps you identify where you need to focus your efforts when you're bringing in new work. It also shows you places that you have room for improvement, such as in segment E. Maybe E has something that you can find that you can correct, or perhaps you could study the D's, see what's working really well, and then take those things and implement them across your projects that aren't performing so well. You can also do the same analysis by funding source. What do I mean by funding source? Well, we would track our projects by state funded, county funded, federally funded, school district, etc. We also did privately funded, developer funded, nonprofits, and those segments helped us to identify the key areas where we made our sweet spot of projects. Let's take a look at funding source 2 and funding source 4. Very different behaviors based off of a funding source. So yours might be even across the board, or you might find some very large differentials. You just need to analyze yours and see what types of projects you need to be targeting. You can also do this by project manager. But be careful. Sometimes the project managers aren't deciding which projects they get to work on. And sometimes your best project managers are given the most difficult projects, which makes it harder for them to hit the profit levels that you desire for your firm. Here's a list of segments that you might consider when analyzing your projects. A couple that we used that we didn't talk about yet was delivery method. Did we do better with design build or design assist, plan spec, feasibility studies? And also regions and locations. Did our firm make more money in Northern Nevada or Northern California? Did we do better in town or out in the rural parts of the state? These are all segments that you can use to determine where you are making your greatest profits. After we had analyzed ours, we discovered that design build office buildings was our sweet spot. We made more profit on those than any other segment. In the prior analysis of segments, we used your net revenues and profits. Here, we're doing similar analysis using your net multiplier and break even. And these make it really easy to hone in on exactly where you're doing well. When that net multiplier is above 3, you're doing great. And when the net multiplier minus your break even is negative, you know you're losing money. Oh, you know, the rule of thumb is 3. If we can bill out at 3 times what we pay, or if we can hit a net multiplier of 3.0 or better, we're making money. But don't limit yourself to that. Really good firms are hitting 4 and 5 on that net multiplier. Now, the overhead factor and break-even columns, they're not necessary. You can see it's the same number all the way down. I just wanted you to see how we got to it. So we assumed a overhead factor of 1.65. And then, of course, the break-even is always 1 plus your overhead factor. Now, the power of this analysis really comes in when you build a pivot table. A pivot table is basically you've got 2 different segments. We have one segment across the top and one segment down the side. And this can be any of your segments. In this example, we've got project type and client type. Then you can just take a look and see where the intersection points are with the best numbers. So you can do this with profitability, you can do this with really any of your KPIs. So here we see that client type 3 and 6 with building type C is a home run for our firm. And we're not doing too bad with project types D, and client type 4 is doing okay for us as well. So now, with this type of analysis, you can see exactly where you need to focus your efforts when bringing in new work. You have now discovered your client project fit. Once you have identified your best fit, what you want to do is become the expert in that industry. You need to study the industry, join and become active in the associations, and possibly even attend the conferences and trade shows so that you understand what those clients are dealing with on a daily basis and what they're thinking, what their hot buttons are. Plus, you become the expert on designing their facilities. And once you have this information, then you can start to implement your strategic marketing. We're going to cover strategic marketing in another video. Thank you, and I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, would you do me a big favor and share it with your colleagues and associates? We want to help as many people and as many firms as we can reach new levels of success.